As the 1993 regular season was winding down, the National League East Division was all but decided. The Philadelphia Phillies were running away with first place. Following their 5-3 victory against the Cincinnati Reds on September 5th, they jumped out to a 9.5 game lead over the second-place Montreal Expos with 26 games left to play. The Expos had a respectable 76-61 record through September 5th, but given how many games back they were, with so few left to play, their season was practically over. None of that seems out of the ordinary, so why am I discussing this? In spite of being left for dead, the Expos were about to pull off the impossible. Over the next 11 days, the Phillies went 4-6, while the Expos went 8-1. Thanks to the hot streak, the difference in the standings was now 5 games with 16 left to play. What was once a monstrous lead was starting to dwindle down. On September 17th, Montreal hosted Philadelphia in a crucial 3-game series. The Expos won the first game, while the Phillies won the second, keeping the difference at 5 games in the standings. I don't think I need to explain how important this third game was. The Expos were in a position for a very late season comeback. A win for Montreal would pin them only 4 games back with 13 to play. A win for Philadelphia would stop the bleeding and extend their division lead to a comfortable 6. In a tense playoff race between these two teams, the third and final game of that series would prove to be one of the greatest games of the year. The game in question occurred 32 years ago today, on September 19th, 1993. You already know the context, so let's get right to it. On the mound for Montreal was rookie starter Kirk Reeder. Reeder was in the midst of one of the greatest rookie seasons by an Expo of all time. Entering the game, he was 8-0 with a 2.33 ERA in 13 starts. Reeder allowed a leadoff single to Lenny Dykstra, but induced 3 straight outs following the hit for a strong start to the ballgame. Starting for Philadelphia in this contest was veteran Danny Jackson, a 12-11 record with a 3.57 ERA in 29 starts on the year so far. The first inning wouldn't go so well for him. Jackson walked the first 2 batters, and they advanced to second and third with 2 outs. Sean Berry stepped to the plate, where he chopped one to second, but Mariano Duncan bobbled the ball, driving home the first run of the game. It was ruled a hit, so an earned run was charged to Jackson. A third walk would load the bases for Randy Reddy, but Jackson got him to fly out sharply to Ruben Amaro in left field for the third out. 1-0 Montreal, heading to the second. Reeder kept the Phillies off the board in the top half, but Jackson ran into more trouble in the bottom half. A single and a sacrifice pinned a runner on second base with 2 outs for Delino DeShields. DeShields grounded the pitch right over the third base bag and into left field for a hit. Spear came around to score the second Expos run, while DeShields made it to second base safely with a double. That would be the only run scored here, but don't think that 2-0 lead would last for long. In the top of the third, Lenny Dykstra was on second base with 2 outs, and Dave Hollins at bat. Hollins crushed a hanging curveball out to dead center field for a long 2-run home run, his 18th of the year, to tie the game at 2 apiece. Reeder settled down, getting the next batter to fly out to right field for the third out, keeping the score tied at 2. Both pitchers would remain sharp in the following innings, allowing only 1 combined base runner across the next couple of frames. The score remained 2-2, heading to the top of the 5th. In the top half, Philadelphia would tee off Reeder. The Montreal starter did get 2 outs on the Phillies, but a 4-pitch walk to Dave Hollins opened up the floodgates. 2 on, 2 outs, full count to Darren Daulton. He bloops the pitch into left field, falling in front of Rondell White for a hit. Mariano Duncan scores, Hollins advances the third, and the Phillies now have the lead on the RBI single. The next batter, Wes Chamberlain, grounds one to third that escapes the glove of Sean Berry. In to scores Hollins, giving Philadelphia another run. If you thought official scorers are lenient on errors nowadays, this play was ruled a hit and not an error. I think it should have been ruled an error, as Berry could have easily made the routine play, but I digress. Ruben Amaro is next up to bat, and he keeps the train moving, singling into center field. Dalton trots home the score, giving the Phillies a 3 spot here in the 5th. Expos manager Felipe Alou had seen enough and took Reeder out of the game. His final line was 4 2/3 innings pitched, 9 hits, 5 runs, 2 walks, and 1 strikeout. Brian Barnes came in from the bullpen to pitch and quickly got the 3rd out, a foul pop-up to the catcher. A big inning for the Phillies here to give them a 5-2 lead heading to the bottom half. However, as soon as Philadelphia took the lead, would Montreal chip away. Marquise Grissom led off the bottom of the 5th with a single, and Delino DeShields followed with a 4-pitch walk. 2 on with no outs. This is what happened on the very next pitch after the walk.
A line drive base hit into the gap in left center. Grissom will score. DeShields will score. White is at second. 5-4, Phillies by 1.
The Expos wouldn't stop there. Larry Walker grounded out to advance White to third, then Sean Berry was walked on 4 pitches. That walk prompted Phillies manager Jim Fregrossi to make a pitching change. Danny Jackson's final line: 4 1/3 innings pitched, 5 hits, 4 runs, 5 walks, and 1 strikeout. It was 4 runs so far, I should say, as he was responsible for the 2 runners on base. Roger Mason came in from the bullpen to replace Jackson, with Will Cordero at the plate. With the tying run on third and go-ahead run at first, Cordero rips the ball right to third base, where Dave Holland snagged it, and doubled up White for the double play. A bullet off the bat, perfectly placed in front of the third baseman. Can't get any more unlucky than that. Expos trailed by a run after 5. While the bats were hot for both sides this game, once the bullpens finally took over, the hitting cooled off. Brian Barnes and Roger Mason both allowed base runners in the 6th, but worked around them for a scoreless frame each. Mel Rojas took over for Montreal in the 7th, throwing a perfect 1-2-3 inning. David West allowed a couple of base runners in the bottom half, but Larry Anderson bailed him out to keep the Expos off the scoreboard. Same situation in the 8th inning. Rojas pitched the hitless frame while Anderson was perfect, retiring the side in order. It's still 5-4 in favor of Philadelphia as this game heads to the 9th. Reliever Tim Scott took over on the mound for the Expos and kept the score intact. He allowed a 1-out walk, but 1 strikeout and 1 flyout later, the inning ended without a run scoring. Last chance for the Expos to save this game, and in reality, their season. 9.5 games out on September 5th, they've clawed their way back in the standings to stay afloat. As this critical game heads to the bottom of the 9th, they still trail by a run. In for the save for Philadelphia was their closer, Mitch Williams, bidding for his 40th save of the year. Williams got the first batter to fly out, was ahead in the count 0-2 to Delino DeShields, but DeShields bested him, lining the pitch up the middle for a single. The tying run is on with 1 out. I might have spoken too soon actually. 2 pitches after that single, DeShields takes off and steals second base with ease. Tying run in scoring position now. That stolen base might have been unnecessary, as Rondell White drew a walk. Winning run on first base now. Coming to the plate here was one of the greatest Expos hitters of all time, Larry Walker. Walker, 0 for 3 on the day, is a base hit away from tying the game. A ball in the gap would win it for Montreal, but a ground ball could result in a game-ending double play. In what was the most pivotal at-bat of the season so far for the Expos, this is what happened.
Walker with a bouncing ball. Kruk knocks it down, picks it up. Walker slides and beats the play, and the bases are loaded.
As Jim Fregrossi storms out of the dugout to argue with the first base umpire, let's look at the play again. Slowing down the footage from this angle, yeah, Walker's out. Williams just barely beat him to the bag. Unfortunately for Philadelphia, Fregrosi's argument was to no avail. The call on the field stands, but you might be surprised to learn what the ruling was. I thought this would have been a hit, but it was ruled an error on the first baseman, John Kruk. The angle on screen here is the only one we get of the full play. I figured since it was sharply hit, it wouldn't have been a routine play, but what do I know? I will admit, had Kruk fielded this ball cleanly, there's a decent chance the Phillies would turn a game-ending double play. What could have been the final play of the game now puts the tying run at third and winning run at second. Kruk makes up for that play immediately as the next batter pops the ball up right in front of first base. Kruk handles it with ease for a huge out number 2. Let's look at the situation at hand one more time. Bottom of the ninth, bases loaded, 2 outs, Phillies ahead 5-4. If the Phillies hold on for the win, they'll have a commanding 6-game lead in the division with 13 games left to play. If the Expos can prevail, they'll only trail by 4 games with 13 left. Will Cordero is the man due to bat here. On a 2-1 pitch from Williams, this is what happened.
Cordero rips a shot over the bag at third and down the line. Here is DeShields with a tying run. Here is Rondell White with the winning run. And the Expos have beaten the Philadelphia Phillies in the bottom of the ninth.
What else can be said other than the Expos simply refused to die? The Phillies were running away with the East all year. They held an enormous lead with under a month left. They were leading for most of this game, and yet, the Expos are alive and well. Unfortunately for Montreal, this moment would be the apex of their season. While the team did end the season 8-5 to finish with a strong 94-68 record, Philadelphia righted the ship just in time, finishing the year 7-6, 3 games ahead in the standings. It was a disappointing finish for the Expos, but for one moment some 32 years ago, they had a glimmer of hope. The time Will Cordero's clutch hit kept the Montreal Expos season alive.